Well, hi, here we are again. The weather's been good the last few days, so what I'm doing today is hauling out the Healey and putting the whole rear end in. That's the rear axle, the wheel hubs and the diff. So let's go and do that. I'm hoping not to have too much of a problem. I'm going to try and do it by myself just to see how far I can go. So I'll need to reduce the weight, clear some bits and pieces, and we'll just see how we go. Failing that, I've got my next door neighbour standing by to give me a hand, but I said just wanted to see if it might be easy putting it in by myself. I'm using an engine lifter. The idea would be to lift it up, pull it through, lift it up with a bunch of rags on the chassis rail, just to help minimise and prevent any scratches. So let's just get on with it and let's see how we go. Alright, so let's do just that. Okay, so what we've got here is of course the rear axle. It's a 5 stud, as you can see here. We count those, which means it's hypoid, which means it's the later version of the BN1, and so this has all been repaired, re-welded in certain areas, certain sections, and got a lot of sun today, so makes for a pleasant change. So we're getting ready to put this onto the vehicle. So you can see the flats there that I've got, which is what sits against the leaf springs themselves, and of course the connection to the prop shaft. I'm going to take off the brake drums just to reduce the weight, so that I can drag it across, and I might have to remove this copper, this pressure tubing. It's not quite copper, but it's the brake line. Okay, so, and what you see at the back there, all that rod work there at the back, is of course the handbrake paraphernalia. So if I come around here to have a look, this is my leaf spring compressor. People have suggested I just jack up the spring to meet the axle, and but my back end is extremely light and the spring is extremely strong, so it's just not going to work for me. So I made up this cage, so the axle sits across, and of course the leaf spring sits across the bottom, and the idea is just to do up the nuts that I've got for each end of the threaded rod. This is all just made out of scrap pieces that I could find around, and so this is 1/2 inch square solid bar. These are hex pieces which I drilled and cut off and then welded in here, and this is just threaded rod. It happens to be 12mm, and it's pretty crappy stuff because it's galvanized and it's leaving gal everywhere, but I think it'll be alright. So that's my compressor. So let's show you how that would actually sit over the top. So I'll just manipulate that back outside to the axle and show you how that goes. So I'm just putting on the top one for the moment. Of course I don't have the leaf spring in place, so that's how it would sit. Okay, just over the top, and the important thing is to give some room over here so that the U-bolt can fit down there. That's why I chose 1/2 inch rod on this side, to try and give you a bit of shade there. as well. And then the other U-bolt goes through that hole that you can see there and across here. Okay, so okay, that when I do it up, like so, that I can still manipulate the U-bolts, and that's just to give me some space there along here where the leaf spring would be pulled up to meet with this here, with this bracket on the underside of the axle. Okay, so that's about it. Okay, if you can see that clearly. Right, so okay, let's go and pull those drums off. Okay, that all seemed simple enough. So the drums off and lighten my load somewhat, and I don't think I need to pull this apart any further here, because it should fit quite well for this U-bolt here. So, and as you can see, that's all ready to go. So I think I'm ready to install, and as I said, I'm just not able to do it today because I've got lots of grandchildren commitments and you know, walking in the park and things like that. All those things are important, of course. So hopefully the weather will hold out. Maybe tomorrow if I can possibly do it. Okay, that's it for that part, and that's ready to go as far as I can tell. Right, now the hard part in all of that was the alignment. Let's see if you can get my camera in there. Okay, these U-bolts, to get those in. Okay, this one here had to locate in a hole, which had to align all the rest of it, you know, fore and up. Now that's not completely done up. I'll do the other side next, but that's taken me quite a while, and the difficulty has been on this underside here. Okay, just aligning that. There's not much room there. That center spigot there that sticks out from the spring is obviously your alignment marker, and then to get all those U-bolt to sit down through the holes and then do them up. I've got another nut, there's a lock nut to do those, but as I said, it's got about a 1/16 of an inch to go to lock up, but I'll do the other side. So all the hassle has been just getting the alignment of that plate, and I think when I made those plates I made the tolerances a bit tight. Not that it hurts to do that, but you can see it just takes time to get everything to line up and then to do them up. Okay, so that's the BN1 version, so I'll just stop there for a moment while I set up the other side. Okay, so there's the square jig. It worked well, you know, but the problem is that you've got to align things up reasonably well to start with, and I had to disconnect the bracket here, which was the handbrake bracket, so that I could get my bolts straight through. So I'm not going to bore you with the other side, which is very much the same as this side, and put that in, and hopefully that's it. This has taken a couple of hours to do, and I had to get my friend from next door just to tilt the that part of the diff up over all this paraphernalia here. So in other words, I had to angle it up. He angled it up and I lifted it up over the other side. So it was easily done, but it's far better as a two-man job as compared to a one-man job, which is how I sort of started it and wanted to see if I could do it on my own, but certainly a lot easier with two people, and of course using the engine lifter as I did, as you saw. So that made it relatively simple, and what I did was I got underneath and lifted it up over the chassis rail on the other side there, as my friend angled the diff to get it over this hump, and as we passed it on through. Got a couple of scratches as well, but not too significant, not too bad. Might have been best to have left all this off, but I didn't really want to have left all this off, which is the handbrake mechanism, because it scratched my paintwork there. But anyway, just a little dab of blue will fix that. Okay, so I'll call that quits, because I don't want to bore you with the other side, which will be the same as this. So hopefully it'll be a little bit easier now that I've done it once. Anyway, okay, closing off. Okay, so where does that leave us? That all went fairly well. As I said, you need two people. I've still got to do all the fittings, the handbrake cable, the shocky arms, and so on. So there's a few things to reconnect in there, but essentially and fix up a couple of scratches as well. So essentially we're in, and for the other side as well. Okay, so and the sway bar that goes over to the other side, the prop shaft I need to fit in as well. So essentially that's about all. What I did find was that I had a leak coming out of diff oil coming out, so when I swayed it or turned the rotisserie a little bit, I was finding a little bit of oil, so I had to take the axles out, and luckily it was just the gaskets, so they were just leaking. So I re-greased the bearings and also made new gaskets and use a silicone style gasket sealant. So I've only just managed to put that in. I didn't want to bore you with that detail as it wasn't really pertaining to putting in the axle, but I thought that, so what I've got to do is leave it sit level in the garage overnight, and then take a look and see how much oil I've lost, the diff oil that is, and replace that, replenish it. But anyway, it's in, it's looking pretty good, and again over this side, I need to put the bumper boxes, they go up here. The bumper boxes, need to put those back on as well, but I've got a bit of work to do in there, and the brake line, of course, it goes from one side to the other. So that's that. Tomorrow I'll just do all the fiddly bits that are necessary. That shock arm should be on the underside, so I've got to just loosen that, drop the arm down, and then reconnect. So I was a bit confused whether the arm goes in the upper position or the lower position, but anyway, that's the lower apparently. So there you go. Okay, that's it.